Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on our podcast, Moms on the Move. I'm Jen.
And I'm Ashley.
And we have Amber Michels here with us.
Hello.
Amber is the owner of the Peace of Mind Project and the Peace of Mind Initiative.
Yes.
So, to summarize, the Peace of Mind Project is for pregnant moms planning.
So I would say the project is more individualized services.
Okay.
And we have a lot of clients in Greenville. We were located in 5 cities at one point. We do a lot of virtual.
Okay.
So we do baby planning, nanny placement. We do a lot of referrals locally for OBs, pediatricians, midwives, doulas for people that are moving in from out of town. That's a big market just because
Okay,
Greenville's expanding so much. So that's more like the one-on-one care. And then the Peace of Mind Initiative is a program that I built alongside my sister-in-law. And we sell it to corporations that are looking to be more supportive of the working mother. So the minute that a mom walks into HR and says, hey, I'm pregnant, it's my first time, what do I do? They say, don't worry. We have your interest, your best interest at heart. We have this program, step by step, baby planning, tips trimester by trimester, financial planning from the minute you're pregnant and well into college. And then we have a whole breathing and meditation program as well to help them work through pregnancy and then postpartum.
Okay.
Wow. So we really just want to cover, the goal is to just cover motherhood from point A to Z, not just one.
So like a complete
increment.
support system.
Yes, that is the intention. That's always been the intention.
I think what stuck out to me was the Peace of Mind Initiative.
Yes.
Because I think we are lacking so much in this area
our
country, which blows my mind. 2020, and here we
2020.
are. 6 weeks is the usual amount for maternity leave.
Right.
And
most moms are having to fight for even the 6 weeks. Because we interviewed so many working moms, and the general consensus was when I said I was having a baby and I was going on maternity leave, I was not told, there was nothing in writing saying you're guaranteed 6 weeks. So I knew from a very early time in my pregnancy that I would have to inevitably fight for those 6 weeks. So 4 weeks, sure. The next 2 weeks, possible. But what moms are finding, and what most other countries have responded to many, many moons ago, is that your bonding doesn't happen until after the 2nd month. So for 8 weeks, you're trying to establish the routine, and then after those 8 weeks, the routine changes because the baby's learning to sleep at night instead of the day.
Right.
Not only that, but the mom finally feels like she's a mom after 8 weeks. She finally feels like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And let's mention breastfeeding.
Yep.
The first 4 weeks is crucial if you really want it to be successful. But for a lot of moms, if they're like 6 weeks are up, what's in their mind and what keeps them from really successfully breastfeeding is that, oh my goodness, I'm well into 4 weeks. I finally got the hang of it. But guess what? In 2 weeks, I'm passing my newborn baby off to a stranger, more than likely, right? And then I'm having to pump in a work environment that hasn't created an environment for me to pump.
I feel like this is a little bit of a dramatic word, but I truly think that the 6-week expectation is somewhat inhumane.
Well,
I
and
agree.
we're also talking about typically salaried employees.
Yes.
This doesn't even touch the world of hourly workers where there is no guaranteed family leave.
There is no guarantee. And so if you look up, which I've done, if you look into this, what it means for an hourly paid employee to get pregnant is potential bankruptcy. Because
or
not
self-employed,
only,
1099.
Absolutely. Because let's consider the fact that they probably don't have great insurance, if any insurance at all. Let's consider the fact that their birth could potentially be complicated. Let's consider the fact that they may have a C-section. And so if any of those things happen and it's not perfect, when they are at home with the baby, their recovery time is doubled and they're not making an income
at all.
And if it's a single income family, I get goosebumps still talking about this because it literally sends people into bankruptcy. So our country is sending people who are not making 6 figures into bankruptcy when they decide to become parents.
My sister worked at Lululemon, and they're a Canadian company. So she was, I think it was sick. She had her 8 weeks, something like that, 8 weeks regular. Then it was up to 12 weeks was 85% of the salary, but she had a guaranteed position for 6 months, which feels light years ahead of where we are on a normal scale.
Absolutely does. If you look at Patagonia, if you look at Google, those were the companies that we studied while building the program. We interviewed their employees. They were gracious enough to let us do that. They are guaranteed a year at Google. So what that means is they're guaranteed 6 months, no question. But after that, if they still want to work for Google but don't want to come back, they're guaranteed their position for a year, as are the fathers.
Yes, my cousin's wife worked there, which made it a no-brainer to stay.
And then but then they wonder why, from the outside looking in, why these employees never leave.
Right.
That is honestly, in the simplest form,
yes.
If you have your employees back, they will have your back. They will never forget
Well, and you
that.
had statistics on your website.
We did.
And it says 1.5 to 2 times, the salary. Companies can lose that amount by not retaining their.
So,
They
yes.
have to get new people, and they have to get them trained. They have to get them over the learning
when
curve.
when we are interviewing potential corporate clients, we ask for them to give us a number. We have a formula, and we say, as of last year, how many women were pregnant and had their babies last year. So they'll give us a number, and then we put it into this antiquated formula, and then we also tell them if one of those employees leaves, how much money they will lose. At the very minimum, it's $300,000 because you're accounting for materials, all of the resources, the training. It's insanity.
Yep.
But yet, so many companies in America aren't pulling the trigger because they just don't have a budget for that.
Yep. Now, something you had said too, if your pregnancy goes perfect, how many times does it not go perfect? And then the chances of postpartum go up so much if you'd have a complicated delivery, or if the baby has a problem, or if, something. So I had postpartum with my third.
Okay.
I mean postpartum depression.
Depression.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm on board.
Apparently, everyone has the blues afterwards.
Right.
For the 2-week period. And then about 20% of moms then go into the postpartum depression. I think it was kind of sad on my end. I didn't know exactly what that looked like.
Sure.
I always thought, it means I'm not bonding with my baby. Well, I didn't have that. That's not what my problem was at all. So I kept thinking I could control the situation, and if only, so he was born November 26th. So we were getting into the holidays, and I kept thinking, as soon as I get the holiday stuff away, the toys organized, I'm going to feel better. And then it became, as soon as I can lose my baby weight and go running again, I'll feel better. And I was trying to control it by these little things, and they kept not happening. So I kept spiraling even worse.
So how did it manifest for you? Just a general.
I literally, it was like more myself. Like, I was so down on myself. I could not even get up to brush my teeth. It wasn't always, it didn't start that way. It progressed. So I remember my mother-in-law finally calling me, because I think my husband must have called her.
Yeah.
And she said, you have now scored, they do 2 tests for you, little check tests that I didn't do with my other boys. But they give you a score, and they were like, okay, you need to go on something. And I was like, no, I don't. As soon as I can, do this, I'll be fine. So I didn't do it. And then I didn't do it the second time. And then she called me, and she's like, you're not yourself. So they put me on Lexapro. And it, for some reason, I don't know why, I did not want to go on a medication. I was very anti.
There's stigma,
There's a stigma.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to alter my personality or something, and I went on it, and oh my gosh, now in hindsight, I wish I had been on it longer and listened to the doctor.
Yeah.
Well, I always say motherhood isn't martyrdom.
No.
It's not martyrdom.
Say that again.
Yeah.
Because, I think that we are. I'm writing a book right now, and it's called Pretty Doesn't Fix Things, and it's really based around that. We're not martyrs. We're not.
Right.
But guess what? We've been taught to be.
Yes.
So personally, if I look at my grandmother and I look at my mother, and those are innately going to be my role models, and I love them, but they were martyrs. They
Right.
did what they had to do. They overdid everything. They didn't go to bed until 11 p.m. They had to do the laundry. You know, it was never
Everything.
about them.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally don't remember being raised by women that were like, no, I'm taking a day for myself. Or, no, mommy's going to go on a girls' weekend.
Mhm.
Or, you know, no, mommy's going to get to the dishes, you know, the next day. So that is a breed that we're trying to fight off right now.
Right.
Personally, I'm trying to fight off by
Yeah.
writing a book, by opening up a business and normalizing what all of this really looks like.
Right.
And saying it's okay. And it's okay to say, I'm not well. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean we're broken.
Yep.
And thank God you got on Lexapro.
Yes.
I mean, I got on Wellbutrin after my first. I went undiagnosed for 6 months, and I was telling my husband is a physician,
Okay.
and the practice at the time, we were not in Greenville. I almost think they didn't want me to be the damaged wife, so they weren't prescribing me anything. Looking back,
Yep.
and even the pediatrician at the time was very mean and said, "You just you're an anxious mom. You don't know what you're doing." So even there's a society out there that doesn't want to hear
Right.
that you're not well, because if mom's not well, what are we going to do?
Yes.
Like, the house isn't well.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we take that on internally. You know, we have to be well. The kids aren't well if I'm not well. Well, if you're not on Lexapro and I'm not on Wellbutrin,
Yeah.
our kids are not well.
Yeah.
And I'm not brushing my teeth.
And you're not brushing your teeth.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's just this whole thing.
Yes.
And I think, like, podcasts like this, I'm so grateful that you've brought me on, and I hope you bring more women on just to talk about who we can be versus who we are right now.
Yes.
And even though we're not maybe where we want to be, being comfortable in the right now,
Yes.
you know?
And don't you think too, like, the expectations of moms are to have it together, to be the glue, to be the, I mean, in most situations, I feel like we're expected to be like a house manager, the number one parent usually.
Yes.
You know, you organize their school stuff, you take them to the doctor's appointments, you know, you're organizing like, oh, I have to bring juice boxes tomorrow. You do the school shopping. You then are usually expected in some form to work or be home with.
Let's not forget you're comparing yourself to Susie.
That's right.
Yes.
And you're like,
You're
well,
expected to have it
wait a
together.
minute. Susie runs for 2 hours every morning at 5 a.m.
Why
and
can't
she's
I?
running the PTA and she runs a business. And how is she doing that? Well, Susie's probably on some upper.
She's on
Let's be
Lexapro.
Susie's got Adderall.
Yeah.
Susie's on like a Monster energy drink.
Yeah.
Like, Susie's not really Susie.
Yes.
And, you know, I think that with social media, that is my biggest fear for my daughter.
Oh, right.
Because let's be honest, we're grown adults and all of us look at it and still have moments of like, okay, you need to step away from that. Like,
Yeah.
comparison is the thief of joy. Quit
Yes,
comparing
for real.
yourself.
It is very. I mean, we've had this conversation in real
yes.
estate. So when Jen first started, my first advice was was like, do not follow another realtor
That's such great advice.
on Instagram. I said I love everybody we work with. Love y'all. Don't follow you because that's what was happening when we first got into the business. It was that constant comparison. Well, what are they doing? I'm
They're
not doing
listing
enough.
this house.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I try to
so
do very
true.
little on social media for that
That's
exact
so
reason
healthy.
because it's that comparison game, but you're getting the filtered snapshot of somebody else's
You're
life.
getting the 50th picture that
That's
was
exactly
approved.
right. That's exactly right.
There are 50 snapshots, and you're getting the one picture where that
Yeah.
woman is saying, that's the prettiest one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
oh,
that's
yeah.
what we look at, and we think, oh my gosh, why isn't my house that put together?
Right.
You know,
Right.
why am I not that skinny? You know, we could talk about this for another hour, but it's just, you know, all of it's not fair. And I think the more we just own and sit in where we're at right now, and we're okay with it, instead of being like, if I lose 10 more pounds, if I get back to running, then it'll
Right.
be okay.
Yes.
If.
You know,
Yes.
like, we have to be okay right now
Yep.
and just say, this is what is my healthy and this is what's my normal.
Well, and
right
I think
now.
like when you're pregnant, having the resource, the peace of mind project, and having a support system, knowing that if I do end up suffering from postpartum depression, for example, it might not look like this. It might look a little different, but also knowing you can reach out to somebody and not feel, because my mom, she said that she had a friend and she had severe postpartum. They didn't talk about it. They didn't talk about it back then.
Just like kills
Yes.
me.
She's always like, I just love how you and your friends are so open with each other. And, you know, that being said, I know like a lot of my friends did have the postpartum depression, but I still don't think it's talked about enough. And I think that it is so debilitating sometimes. And if you expect moms to go back to work and have some sort of normalcy, it's impossible. Like, it's unrealistic.
Well, and you're not who you used to be.
No.
I tell all
That's
of my
very
new
true.
clients that are in like about to have a baby, I'm very real, but I'm not like scary real.
Yes.
You know, but I do say, you know, you've had this career, you're taking some time off, sit in that because you're going to have an identity crisis.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are.
Oh, you
Yeah.
are.
You
Right.
are.
Yes.
Especially with your first one, because I think that transition in itself is so overwhelming, and then put postpartum depression on top of that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's impossible.
I know. It's a lot. Now, did you have any issues?
Yeah, especially after my first one. So I have 3 boys. After
Okay.
the first, I had a really, really hard time. Very hard time.
Like, in what way? Like,
But I was totally by myself. We were living in Boston at the time.
Okay.
No family around. It was, and I remember leaving the hospital and looking at this small little thing like, I'm expected to take care of
Yes.
like him.
Yes.
I'm supposed to keep him alive. I have no idea I'd never changed a diaper. Like I'd never babysat. It was like the first baby I held was my own.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I get that.
Probably should have taken a class beforehand. But yeah, I really struggled for a long time after my first one was born. And it was not a nice, you know, happy delivery. I mean, it was 24 hours of labor into an emergency C-section. It was pretty brutal.
And so you beforehand probably didn't even know that would be that would even happen.
Nobody talks
like
about
no
that.
one
Nobody
no one
does.
tells you, okay, this is your birth plan. You want to do it vaginally. You want to, you know, have this natural birth. However, no one has that conversation with you.
Or they just say you might have a C-section, not you might go into full-blown labor for hours.
Right.
And
That
then
is
end
just-
up having a
And
C-section.
then you're
Truly a
discharged from the
nightmare.
hospital,
immediately.
and you're expected
Yeah.
to become a mom, heal,
Yep.
and basically take on this new identity. And let's add something else, and you're not going to sleep for a few weeks.
That's right.
And you're going to hallucinate and
Yeah.
like
It's crazy.
I
It
remember
is crazy.
2 o'clock in the morning crying and being like, people were doing this in caves and you're doing it in a really nice apartment. Get yourself together. Like, I remember
Right.
that going through my head. Like, you should not be, stop it. Like, you should not be
Yes.
struggling.
Right.
But I was struggling. Yeah.
I think every new mom struggles, though.
Yeah.
Every new mom struggles.
What was so? This is terrible. We couldn't get pregnant with Bennett, so with him, I was just completely overjoyed. Like I'm not a very happy pregnant person, but when he was born, it was like, oh, like
Was that your
rainbows.
first?
Yes.
Okay.
Rainbows and butterflies. It was wonderful. Braden, kind of the same thing, but then we weren't anticipating or planning on having our third,
Okay.
and so it felt different. And then I felt guilty because here I am, someone who could not get pregnant, and now I was feeling a little resentful, you know, because I wanted to start this new career and then this happened. So it was
Right.
kind of like, oh, here we go again. I'm not going to take care of myself. I'm going to have to be home with the baby
Yeah.
and take everything on. And then I had a horrible delivery. Then 8 days postpartum, I had a postpartum hemorrhage, like severe
That's
postpartum
terrible.
hemorrhage. I lost 50% of my blood. The doctor said I almost
Oh my
didn't make it.
gosh.
It was serious. So, you know, obviously that wasn't planned. So I think that didn't help the mental state.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just this like dark, like,
Well, if you hear you almost die,
yes.
I mean, the gravity of that. I almost lost my life, and my son almost lost his life during my birth with him. He's now 2. But I think to hear that, and for me, it didn't set in right away, but it sets in later, and you're
Yes.
like, okay.
But
like,
then you feel like guilt. There's so much guilt. There's constant guilt.
Well, because
Like-
there's expectations that you put on yourself. There's, I don't want to, societal expectations.
Yes.
Because what you were mentioning earlier about, you know, you're supposed to be the super mom, you're supposed to be the PTA person, you're supposed to do all these things, and so I acknowledge and yeah, I do put those same expectations on myself. But then there's certain social situations we get in where there's people saying, you shouldn't have a career. You should be, they're only this little once. And
Yes.
then it's the guilt of, okay, so, and I think ambition as a female is a word that doesn't have the same connotation. It's an ambitious, you're like, no, ambitious man versus ambitious woman. So I'm supposed to shelve my
So you're
ambition.
a cold mother.
Well, I was told by somebody
Selfish.
not to chase shiny things when there are shiny things at home.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm married to a successful doctor. I've always been a career woman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always fed my soul. So no one prepared me for when I had my firstborn to go to these retirement parties or to meet the new, partners. Not in a million years did I think almost every single person would tell me, oh, you stay at home?
Right. Right.
What?
There's
No.
nothing wrong with that.
No.
But it's the choice.
But no one should ever
that's right.
assume.
That's right.
First of all, money is not the only reason any of us work. It's
Very
for
true.
a sense of
It's
self.
very true.
Yeah.
Very
It's for
true.
a sense of accomplishment. And by work, I mean staying at home as well. Like,
Yes.
I hate that also.
Yeah.
Like, we are all working.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
If
that
you
is
choose
exactly
to work
right.
from inside the home, I do not say stay at home mom. Those
Yeah.
words literally make my skin crawl.
I
Are
honest-
you working from home?
for me
Because that is
personally,
It is a
That
full-time
is
job.
the hardest job I
think
have ever
working
done.
out of the house for me personally
Yeah.
is harder than staying home, because I think I have stayed home, and it is draining and exhausting, and at least when you get out of the house you have, but again, everyone has a different, and I have more of a flexible schedule, so it is more of a break when I get out of the house
Right.
versus like 8 to 5. I know
Right.
that if we're like, oh, you're so lucky you get to work, they might say, no, I want to stay home.
Right.
You always want what you can't.
It's a very
have.
touchy subject.
It
and you
is,
don't
and
want
I'm
to
not-
speak on it because you
yes.
feel like you're going to offend someone. But here's what I've learned. I absolutely will be offending people when I speak, but guess what? At least I'm speaking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and there's shame. There's a lot of women who feel guilt and shame if they go to work. There's a lot of women who feel guilt and shame if they work from home. And I love that, because that the stay-at-home things, I'm like, so I love rephrasing that and putting it in a new light, because if you are at home with your children, you are working from home, girl.
You're
Yeah,
just
yes,
choosing
you
to
are.
work inside the home.
That's exactly right.
Did an IG live last night with this doctor, Dr. Lauren Fontenot. She works with moms, and I'm going to literally scream this from the rooftops at every chance I get. The one thing that she said to all of us moms on this IG live that resonated with me was, your brain is what you use to think and what you use to speak, how you speak to yourself. So everything that you're saying to yourself, you're thinking is true. Your brain's job is not to decide what's true and what's not true. Your brain's job is to keep you alive. It's your decision what you decide is true and not true. So her whole thing is, every morning, instead of being like, oh my gosh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I'm so guilty, say, switch it up a little bit. All right, this is what I'm going to do today. End of story. And then if you change your narrative every day just a little bit, or like, I love my curves. Like, my brain is telling me I need to wear those jeans in the closet. No, I'm actually going to sell those jeans, or I'm going to throw those jeans away.
Yeah.
You know, like we were talking a lot about that last night. Like, when you open up your closet, your brain says one thing. Oh my gosh, you have all these clothes that you can't fit into. Why does that matter? And why do you have to fit into clothes?
Yeah.
I know.
Why?
Because
But
we tell
why?
ourselves
Because
that.
we tell ourselves that.
Yes.
And 9 times out of 10, all of the things that we as moms feel guilty about or we dislike about ourselves, no one else is thinking
That's exactly
that.
right.
It's so true.
No one, you're not that important. None of us are
so
that
true.
important.
Yes.
They
Or
don't
the way
care.
that we treat ourselves, we would never treat our friends or say those things to our friends, but we do it to ourselves.
And they're not
Yes.
looking at me like, oh, those are a size up. They're like, Amber's here. Oh my gosh, it's so nice to see her.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not thinking
it's
about
so
that.
True. It is.
We're the only ones that decide to torture ourselves. We're the only ones that sign up for that.
Yes.
So it's like changing the narrative every day, being comfortable in your skin, and dropping the guilt.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're
that
just
is-
making a conscious decision to do that, because I do think it's possible.
Mhm.
And I think for me personally, like, creating this kind of platform, but also surrounding yourself with like-minded women is so key. I mean, I don't know about you two, but that's been so game-changing for me to just find those women where we all just love on each other, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's I'm one of those people, I have a really hard time with small talk. Like
Ugh.
I would rather get in a conversation like this and do this all day long than
Or nothing.
Yeah.
Same.
I
When
have
I
a
moved
really
to the
hard-
South, I literally did not know what small talk was. I'm not even kidding.
It's brutal.
And then we moved into our neighborhood. God love these people. But I would be out in my yard, and I did not know I was supposed to talk to them every time I was in my front yard. I really did not know
Seems to be a
that.
common
It is.
topic
But they
coming
would talk
up.
to me, and I'd be
Yes.
like, this is an ending. What are we talking about? They don't care. Why do they want to know that? They don't care about that. And then I'd be like, oh, they want me to ask them questions too.
Yeah.
Like shallow oh, how's the yard? Your flowers look great. Oh, your kids are at school. And it would,
It's
I
like
never had to do that
It's like on
growing
the
up.
airplane.
I
Me
have
and
a
my
hard time
husband
with
fly. He'll like just talk to people.
Yes.
Hey, my
where are
husband's
you
good at it.
going? And I'm
Yeah.
like, who cares?
Oh,
Who cares where they're going?
I'm the-
Why do you care? Where Susie down the who?
I'm like,
cares?
where's my vodka soda? Give me my magazine.
And I'm gonna put
I don't
my
need to talk
headphones
to
on.
anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I don't understand small talk. I
I
really
have a hard time with it.
So it's refreshing. I could talk about that for hours. It's so refreshing when I meet other women that say that, because I'm like, thank God. I thought I was broken. I thought something was
Yeah.
wrong with
No.
me.
Yeah.
It's like,
No.
it's really awkward, because you're like, okay.
We've talked about this where I feel like I'm missing that, I call it the fitting in gene,
I love it.
where,
Oh my gosh.
so we've talked about
Yeah.
it, whether there'll be a group of girls and Jill will be like, well, they were all out and they didn't invite us. And I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't
Right.
care.
It doesn't
don't-
bother me
yeah.
because I'm missing that fitting in gene. I don't know, but like, yeah, I'd rather stay home and like have a discussion with somebody about imposter syndrome, like, or something.
See, I don't like going out.
But you want the invitation.
That's
I want you to know I want
That
the
is
invitation, but I'm
literally
not coming. But
my
I still want to be
friend
invited.
that I just talked about.
Yeah.
this, she's like, you don't actually want to go anywhere. I invited you 5 different times to come out with me, and you say no every time. And I'm like, but I like your invitation.
Yeah.
That's what we were saying. I was
like
like, would you
sick.
even want to go to that thing? And you're like, no, but I want to be invited.
So I
'Cause I'm
park my
sick.
car in your garage. I really don't want the
really don't. I'm good.
invitation, and I really don't care. And I hate saying no. So just don't even give it to me, because I don't really care if you like me. If we like each other, we both know we like each other, and you know that I will invite you, and I know you will invite me. But all those other people, if I have to question whether they like me
Yes.
or why they didn't invite me, that is so trivial. That's like so exhausting to even
Yeah.
think, especially
We were-
as women. I mean,
We were
it's really
saying
hard.
too, we led into the last topic. It was like, I'm very blunt with saying no. I'm like, I don't want to come.
Versus making up an excuse. Just
it
saying.
was like, do you make an excuse up, or are you just
Yeah.
honest? And I'm like, I'm just honest about it. I'm like, I
Same.
don't want to go out tonight, and
Or
it's
ever.
not happening.
But I also think it's because
I want you to invite
you're
me
not
to go out.
Southern,
Right.
also. And nothing against
It's-
it. Like, I love the South. I've lived here in the South for like 12 years. It's wonderful. But I do think, social cues, those little nuances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feeling like you have to make everyone feel good.
right,
Like, I don't feel that responsibility.
right.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Bye.
I'm not coming.
But they also probably don't care if you just say no, thank you. That's
Right.
all this rhetoric in your own head.
Yes.
Like,
That's true.
They actually, oh, thanks. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You
All
can
right,
come.
you're not coming.
Yeah.
Next
Yeah.
time. And then next time you'll be like, I'm not coming.
But still invite me the next time.
I'll just show up at your house.
Do not show up at my house. We've talked about this.
I just showed
Call
up at my
before
friend's
you-
house
Are you
yesterday.
just show up at my house or call before you
I've
come?
had to have some serious come to
I'm a
Jesus
call before you come
with my
person.
friends. Not like a lot of friends here, but I've had 2 friends that have done that, and I like open the door and I'm like, this is really uncomfortable.
Boundaries.
I've
Boundaries.
pulled that yesterday on a friend. I was like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like 2 minutes away. She's like, come on over. And Ashley's like, don't ever do that to me.
So I'm the
I was
same
like,
way.
what?
Don't come over unless we've like taken a week.
Well,
to
I don't want
plan
anyone
it.
to come to my
Like,
house.
I know well in advance. Like,
Do you guys have like a strict like routine every day in your house with your kids, or you just kind of like whatever goes?
We're kind of whatever.
Okay.
I'm somewhere in between. Somewhere in between. Like they all get up early. I'm really strict about bedtime, but that's because like me and my husband need time.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm very strict about bedtime.
Because you want to see him in his shorty shorts.
I know. I have a beautiful husband. He's a beautiful man. But
I love that you feel that way about your husband. 'Cause
Oh, I
I
do.
don't hear many women say that about their husband. I'm
I
like,
can't-
oh my gosh.
I can't. I've got when people start complaining about their spouses, I'm like, do. I don't like those conversations.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I feel like if there's an issue in your marriage, you take care of it in your marriage. Like
Yeah.
I have very little patience for venting about spouses because I
Yeah.
wouldn't want my husband to vent about me. to
Totally.
other
True.
people.
So true.
So I
Absolutely.
wouldn't do it about him, and he's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
He's an eye doctor if you need an eye
amazing.
I know,
doctor.
he's awesome.
Dr.
But,
Bill.
That's awesome.
But yeah, but we're really strict about bedtime. The younger two go to bed at 8. My 15-year-old, I just put his bedtime to 9 o'clock. He's been going to bed at 8 his whole
8
life,
o'clock?
and he's 15.
That's amazing.
I know it's crazy, but
No, it's not. I think
he's
it's
a morning
amazing.
person too. He's like up at like 5, 6, and I said that is a gift.
Yeah.
That is a gift. We need to keep this going.
Yeah.
But I'm very strict about bedtime because we need our like adult time to like have conversations and be together.
Yeah.
But other than that, the day is kind of all over in
Yeah.
between. But we try to keep the bookends stable.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, I think I'm at the age where like we hit that 3 and 4 o'clock period, and I think it's just like the devil's hour with children. I don't know
It's
what
the
to do
witching
with
hour.
them. I'm
It's legit.
tired. They're tired. It's not dinner time. I think once dinner time hits, I like get pep in my step. Might be the wine.
They have to hold it. Like I try to put myself in their shoes. They have to hold it together all day.
all
at
day.
School.
Yes.
They have
Right.
to. There's rules. They have to be in their chair. There's norms and standards
I mean, now
for them.
especially, it's
Oh, yeah.
so heavy.
It is. And so when they get that, they get home. There's that, the witching hour where they're bonkers, and you're like, I know you weren't acting this at school, but
Oh, yeah.
it's almost, I think, a good sign when the kids can kind of come home and
had
be a little
teachers
bit
say that.
obnoxious
It is.
and let loose because
Right.
You'd
everybody's-
rather them at home
I
act
do.
like
Yeah.
fools than at
Yes.
school.
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
do, I'm very strict for after school. We do bath time at 4 p.m. every day.
Nice.
And I read this book once, Throw Water at Your Kids. And what that means is if they're ever melting down, put them around water. Put them in a tub. If it's a smaller child, put like a little like bowl of water, and they could just play with, like, water is very soothing to children.
Okay.
So I took that to like the next level. I'm like, that means bath time at 4
Yeah.
p.m. because 4 to
'Cause
5 is very
it is. It's the
It's
uncomfortable.
the worst time.
So if people try to come over, the people that know me know Monday through Friday they're not coming over because we are
Tubby time. 4
in the bath
o'clock.
at 4. 5 p.m. everyone's in their jammies, and 6 p.m. everyone's eating dinner.
Yeah.
Minus my husband who's still at work. But yeah, I think routine can be helpful, but I also think like you can be overly regimented, and it
Yeah.
can stress you out if it doesn't go the way that
See,
you
if
want
Chris
it to
is
go.
ever not home, it seems like I'm the same. It's like
Yeah.
all of a sudden I'll be like, 5 o'clock is tubs and 6 o'clock dinner, and we're
Right.
in our PJs by 6:04. Versus when he's home, it's like wrestling matches, and it gets a little chaotic
Yeah.
when he's obviously the one at home. 'Cause we 3 boys. It's just crazy.
How did you get into all this? I'm just curious.
Into my business.
Just all of it. I find you fascinating. So how did you get your
Thank you.
business? How did this all come together?
I think that I've always been the person since I was younger that was never afraid to speak up. I was never afraid to own it. I was never afraid to just voice my opinion in general, respectfully, but I was raised by 2 people that were total hippies, like hippies.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So I was raised in an environment where I had to figure things out for myself. I didn't have like a lot of direction, which was good and bad. And so by the time I became a parent and I had postpartum depression, I think everyone knew my personality. I was always the mom that took care of the friends. And so they thought, when Amber's a mom, we don't have to worry about her.
She's got it.
Uh-huh.
Got
She's
it under
gonna
control.
rock it.
Yeah.
She's gonna, it's gonna be wonderful. And then my husband just started his career at his first practice in Atlanta and was never home ever.
Right.
And I struggled with postpartum depression, and I went to I'll never forget this moment in my life when I went to my first mom group with a bunch of Atlanta women. I would show up in like yoga pants, a sweatshirt,
Yeah.
like my boobs are leaking,
Right.
Like old
Yeah.
Nikes, thinking this is going to be a meeting of the minds. Like we're going to struggle together.
Yeah.
Everyone else was like,
Done.
Oh. Yeah.
and I
Nope.
walked in and I walked out and I cried.
This
because
is not my tribe.
no, I was still going
right.
through postpartum depression, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is
something
the
else
world.
to keep up with.
But like,
Yeah.
is this the world? Is this
Right.
the mom world?
Yeah.
Like, is this what it means to be a mom? And if
Right.
this is, then I will never be a good mom. Like, I will never have friends. And so then I thought, I'm going to start writing out all of my struggles. I'm just going to journal about it. And then that journal turned into a business plan, and it revolved around all the services
amazing.
I wanted or I thought I needed that would have really helped me get through the darkest time, which is like the first 6 months of being a new mom. So we left Atlanta after 1 year. We came to Greenville, and I felt very comfortable opening it up and just trying it out, and it just took off.
You're exactly right. There's a need for what you're doing.
There's a need, and I also think like as I move forward, as I move through all of this, what I'm doing now, like with the book, with the next chapter, I think like what we're doing now is great. It's service based, but I also see a need in a voice, more voices like us that say, okay, yes, you can pay for the services, but the services don't make you better. They don't get you better. What gets you better is just realizing that pretty does not fix anything.
Right.
You know, like
it's kind of like embrace the mess at the time.
Embrace the
instead
mess.
of
and stop getting caught up in
climb.
Who owns this and who drives this. And, you know, I'm very fortunate. I grew up with no money. I'm very fortunate. I grew up with nothing and parents that literally had like a garden in the backyard, and we would literally, you know, I mean, I grew up very simple. So to have the lifestyle that I have now, it's so funny.
Right.
You know, my parents will visit and be like, what the?
It's Drake started from the bottom, now she here.
You know? But it's also like, well, no, because I don't even really want to be here. I'd rather, you know, I do feel like with society, I also even hate mentioning like what my husband does. He's not my identity. He's not who I am.
Right.
But
he's a career person. I'm a career person.
Yes.
You know, that's, so I think like that's a long-winded answer, but I think like I got here because I did feel like there was a purpose in my struggle. And I also think it was a God thing. Like I think with all of my being, it was a God thing. Like there was something inside of me that still is inside of me every day that I wake up since I've started this business. There's not been a
Well, you're
day.
helping people.
Yeah. I do not doubt it. That's the biggest gift I've ever had my entire life. There are few things in your life that you never doubt. I've never doubted my kids. You know, I've never doubted certain relationships that I've had with other people, and I've never doubted this job. So, I mean, it's just a gift.
Well, this has been amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You are an awesome guest, and I'm so glad you came on.
Thank you so much for having me.
When does the book come out?
Yeah, when is your book?
You working on it?
I am. I'm about halfway through, and I'm not really giving myself a deadline because I do think that if I did that, it would not be as genuine and like authentic.
Well, let us know when it's coming.
No, I will.
Yes.
I will let everyone know. I'll shout it from the rooftops.
Yes.
But yeah, that will be, I think, my next phase of just kind of reaching more people and hopefully doing more speaking engagements and traveling once this crazy.
I know, right?
I know.
This crazy.
And so, will you
COVID
plug
passes.
your website and whatever?
Yes. Yep. So my website is www.thepeaceofmindproject.co. And then the other website is www.thepeaceofmindinitiative.com.
Great. So if there's an employee at a company, they should contact their HR department.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
That would be wonderful.
Yes, for sure.
And at the very least, what I've been doing a lot of with companies that are just not necessarily sure of where their budget is going for next year because of COVID.
Right.
I will do like a free Q&A with all of their working parents, and then I will report back to HR with all of the questions and issues that they confided in me with without names or, you know, so that they at least know like what they're working with and what they need to do to help these people, which has been really, really instrumental.
I'm sure.
And again, this is not just Greenville. So I want to reiterate.
No, So as far as clients are concerned, we have clients all over the country.
Yep.
Everything I do is virtual now.
Yeah.
And it's been that way even since before COVID, just because it doesn't make sense to go to people's homes.
Right.
But yes, with the corporate piece, I mean, it's an online, it's a program that they can literally, if they sign up for, they're sent the program, they can log in and then just send it to any employee that needs it.
Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for coming. Yes, and keep us posted on your book.
I will. I absolutely will.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on our Moms in the Move podcast, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye.